Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Adam Eisen Show. We're on episode 28 this week after a week off, and this episode is going to be a bit on the shorter side due to me still going through exams, but in 4 days, I am all wrapped up with classes and will be posting once, sometimes twice a week throughout the summer. Now, like I said, it has been 2 weeks since I talked to you all, so there has been a lot that has happened in the NFL, including the draft. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. The NFL draft to start, it was about 8 to 9 days ago now, and it was a legendary year. Even though the league is transitioning towards offense, even though teams are defining themselves in new ways now and are no longer conforming to defenses win championships, it was a legendary year for defense. Young guys got to come out, get their dreams made. It's a sweet moment all around. The NFL draft has to be one of everybody's favorite times of the year. There was 9 trades made just in the first round. That's a record, and everybody's got who doesn't love trades? And we'll talk about a good bit of those trades coming up. 6 wide receivers taken in the top 20. Like I was saying, there's a lot of receiver talent. There may not have been a lot of QB talent, but there was a hell of a lot of receiver talent. Georgia had 5 defensive guys selected just in the first round. That's a record. Records all around for this NFL draft. A lot of teams this year were obviously setting up for next year's draft, stacking up their O-line, getting ready to bring in a young QB, because like we've talked about, it was a weak QB class, weak QB free agent market. Everybody's looking towards next year if you don't have a quarterback. What I love about the draft is it gives every team hope naturally. After watching the draft, I can sit here and think that the Lions might win 500 of their games. They might go even this year. Hell, they might even go 9-8. They are stacking up, and what's great about the drafts is it gives every team a little bit of hope going into next year, because you never know if these guys are going to be hits or not. There's very few per year that are going to come in and be NFL talent. So starting it off today, the first big trade that came about NFL night, A.J. Brown, I'm sure everybody saw it. A.J. Brown, wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, is headed over to the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC East. And I'll tell you guys what I'm loving right now about the draft, about GMs. It's these hyper-aggressive young GMs. Like Les Snead, Steve Kim, Jason Litch. These hyper-aggressive young GMs are changing the way football is played and gone about, especially in the front office. Howie Roseman of the Eagles is the next one up to be one of these hyper-aggressive young GMs. They got very aggressive and went to Tennessee and got A.J. Brown, which I think was very important for Philly to do this offseason. Philly needed to go out and establish themselves with a number 1 receiver after whiffing on Aguilar or Acre. You know what I'm talking about. They have not gone out and bought themselves talent in a long time. Philly tries to build through the draft. They don't go out and buy talent. If they do buy talent, tend to be on the older side. They need to find out this year if Jalen Hurts is the guy. We've already brought it up. QBs next year in the draft, they're going to be the hot commodity. There's going to be 5 or 6 to go in the first round, most likely. They need to find out if Eagles need to find out if they need to go after a quarterback. And they can't do that unless they give their current quarterback weapons. He got them to the playoffs this past season, then got blown out. Next year, being a stronger QB in draft year, they're beefing up the team, got him an over-the-top, big-time playmaker at wide receiver, and are going to see if he can win. If not, they will keep the team together, including A.J. Brown, and get someone else after this season. I just love what Howie Roseman is doing here, at least. He's not letting past decisions affect him. He's not letting past culture of Philly affect him. These hyper-aggressive young GMs are taking over and changing the league and are going to be a big talking point on today's show. Next team I want to get into, you guys knew it was coming. The Packers, for me, at least were let down again. for year after year, free agency, trade after trade, possible free agent signing. Year after year, it's a tease. The top 6 receivers were taken in the top 20 picks. We already talked about that. And they picked a linebacker at 22, and then a defensive lineman at 28, and then had 2 picks in the second round. I think they should have moved up, gotten Burks, or Williams, and they would have been a difference maker on day one. That is 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns the first season, especially with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers on the McAfee Show, the night of the NFL draft, I watched his whole interview. He was insanely calm. Him and the rest of the Packers organizations are falling back on defense wins championships. That's what they did throughout this draft. They're going to have their offense good enough to compete, to score some points. They're not going to be averaging 30 a game like they have the last 2 seasons. Won't be anywhere near there. But they're going to rely on Rodgers, and they're hoping defense wins championships. But this league is changing, and it's not going to win Super Bowls for Green Bay, especially this upcoming year. Tampa Bay and the Rams right now in the NFC both have more firepower than the Packers. This was the draft to be aggressive. This was the draft we talked about forever on the offensive side, that you might not have been able to get a quarterback, but you can get damn near anything else that can start day one. I mean, come on. Randall Cobb, who is getting older and older. Amari Rodgers, who we know nothing about. And then Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard. 2 guys who are 3s at best and would be 4s on the Rams or Buccaneers. Packers are not setting themselves up for success at the moment. I like it's Christian Watkins, I believe. I can't pronounce his last name. I like that kid the Packers got, the receiver. They need to go out and get someone through free agency. I don't understand how after the carousel has spun for years and the Packers just keep on the same ride, they just continue to stay on it. They won't get off the ride. Even back with Ted Thompson at GM, he was on this whole thing, defense wins championships, and then our defense wouldn't get good enough, and then Rodgers wouldn't have the weapons he needed. This league is changing. It started 5 years ago, and the change is fully here now. Other teams are doing it, and the Packers aren't. The next move that happened on draft night, Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals. Huge move, getting sent from the Baltimore Ravens to the Arizona Cardinals. We know everybody probably saw Lamar Jackson took to Twitter and was obviously not happy about them trading Hollywood Brown away. But the Ravens came away and had one of the best first rounds and did not even pick until number 14. They got 2 day 1 starters in this league and did not pick till number 14. Kyle Hamilton, their number 14 pick, is the best safety in this class. And the best center easily in this draft, Tyler Lindenbaum from Iowa. Iowa just produces offensive linemen and tight ends. People know that. They got the best center too. So the best safety and the best center in the draft. You can be upset about Hollywood Brown getting traded away, but they just got a steal out of the first round. It was an unbelievable night for the Baltimore Ravens. 2 starters, 2 of the best players at their position with the 14th and 25th pick, which was 25th pick. They traded a wide receiver to Arizona, and Lamar may not have loved it, but my takeaway is the Ravens here got more value. This is also a great move for the Cardinals. Don't get me wrong. We talk about it every week. You gotta take your team and stack it up on paper against teams like the Rams or the Bucks. If you don't stack your team up on paper against them with the amount of talent they have, you're not going to beat them. The Cardinals are gearing themselves up to be able to compete receiving-wise. DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Marquise Brown, Zach Ertz, and will probably sign a guy or get someone else. I know DeAndre is now out for the first 6 games of the year. That changes a good bit for the Cardinals. But they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in this upcoming playoffs. It's a very smart move for them to beef themselves up more offensively, unlike the Packers are doing. And now, after DeAndre Hopkins getting suspended for the 6 games, Marquise Brown is the perfect addition that the Cardinals needed to come in and fill that void. Now, another huge thing, my favorite pick from all of the first round of draft night, and probably from the whole draft, to be honest with you all, is Kenny Pickett to Pittsburgh. He came from Pitt. He's the QB. He's the only one who went in the first round. Honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if none of the QBs went in the first round. They were all third round grade QBs in my opinion. And I said it last week. It was a very weak QB class, and these guys all deserve to go later. But Kenny was the most pro ready, and Kenny has the most potential. I don't think he's great, or that Pickett has an incredibly high ceiling. But boy, out of every pick in the draft, this and the Aiden Hutchinson pick going to Detroit has to be my favorite. Pickett went to Pitt. Tomlin is great with younger guys and bringing them up, and he still get to stay where he knows. He's not leaving, going at 21, 22 years old to this big city he's never been before. Pittsburgh has the receivers, they have the tight ends, they have the running backs, and hopefully they get their O-line better, which is what the drafters for, and they did do that. They've got a great defense already. We know Pittsburgh as a great defensive team overall. A really, really strong culture, an excellent coach. And yeah, I don't know how well Kenny Pickett will come into this league. But if there's one place out of every team in the NFL, out of all 32 teams, that's the best for him, in my eyes, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sometimes you see guys get drafted, like let's say the Jaguars or the Jets, and you know it's not going to end up well for him there. You know he's going to struggle, and likely after 3 to 4 years, he's not going to have the market that he could potentially have and not going to get the payday he potentially should. But after draft day, I think you can be confident in where Kenny Pickett landed. Remember, in a strange way, Aaron Rodgers dropping in the draft helped him. He got behind Brett Favre into a legendary culture with an excellent head coach. But there's some guys like Chase Young to Washington. He's going to be great everywhere. The Bosa brothers, they were going to be great everywhere. Pickett is not that type of guy. Pickett needs the stability. He needs the culture around him, which him falling to number 20 in the draft was one of the best things that ever could have happened to him. He now has the culture, he now has the stability to be successful, and hopefully he takes those tools and runs with them. The last team I want to talk about today after the NFL draft is the Denver Broncos and the absolute masterclass they put on throughout the 3 days of the draft. You take from this offseason, take from when the Super Bowl season ended to right now to the date I'm filming the podcast, May 7th, 2022. Take their free agent acquisitions, take their draft picks, and there is no question in my mind that the Denver Broncos are the most improved football team since the Super Bowl ended. It's not just about Russell Wilson. Then they added Randy Gregory, a great pass rusher, and DJ Jones, an underrated run stopper from San Francisco. Then they draft Nick Bonito, an edge rusher from Oklahoma who is widely athletic and people loved coming out of college. They then get rid of Vic Fangio, which teams are doing all around the league. They're getting rid of the guys who are 70 years old, defensive coordinators, and they move to Nathaniel Hackett, a young offensive guy. You all know I love that on this show, and Nathaniel Hackett was the Packers guy. I have complete confidence that he'll be successful. So they have now gotten the head coach right. They brought in a Hall of Fame quarterback to replace Drew Lock. And they already had the receivers and targets in place and massively upgraded their defensive line. Let's look at the keys to the Rams' success. There's 4 of them. Offensive-minded head coach, star QB, plenty of weapons, and a dominant defense backed up by great corners like Jalen Ramsey. They have, to me, what it takes to be one of the top Super Bowl favorites, one of the top 3, if not top 1 or 2 Super Bowl favorites. If you looked what has happened in the last 2 years with the Bucs and the Rams, this is the recipe to go out and win the Super Bowl. Denver has the culture. Denver has the stars. Same thing we were talking about with A.J. Brown. I love the way these GMs are going. You can turn around a team quick in this league. Any given year, any team can make it, which really isn't true with leagues like the NBA. The NBA, it could take 7 years to turn around a franchise. Take a long time. But in the NFL, you can hit it out of the park in just one offseason, in just 3 months. And that's exactly what the Broncos did. They hit it out of the park. Now, my last topic for today, a bit of the fallout from the draft. I want to talk about jumping back to the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill, he had a lengthy quote this past week, basically saying that he was not going to be a direct mentor for Malik Willis, the guy the Tennessee Titans drafted. Ryan Tannehill is 34 now. Didn't want to be training a guy to be his replacement, which, honestly, I understand. He's taking a lot of the heat for this right now, but for me, and with quotes like this, you always got to listen to a person's tone of voice when they're talking. I don't take this as mean spirit from Ryan Tannehill, or like he is trying to take a shot at Malik Willis, the QB the Titans just drafted. It really isn't his job to teach. Granted, I wish he would teach, but it is not his job to teach. Tannehill is 34 years old. His averaging salary is $27 million a year. I'm not giving that up anytime soon. They gave up their best receiver. Tannehill gets hurt often and just lost a home playoff game as a 1 seed. Tannehill knows he is fighting for his life right now. He's fighting for himself and he's fighting for his career. It's not his job to develop someone to replace him. If Malik Willis catches on with some things, if Malik Willis asks him a couple questions, Ryan Tannehill will answer those, and he said he would. But he's not going to be the direct mentor to the guy that could be his replacement. If Malik is good in practice or does something good, Ryan should compliment him 100%. Should not cold shoulder him. Give him a tip or two. But in no way can Tannehill just roll over. He's got one of the 32 best jobs in America. He doesn't want to give that up. I wouldn't give that up. I'd fight like hell for it. Before I get out of here today, I just want to bring up one point with the Ryan Tannehill situation. And everybody defending Tannehill, I know I am, because I believe quarterbacks in this situation deserve to be defended. But everyone defending Tannehill here, remember how you treated Aaron Rodgers with Jordan Love. That's all I want to say. Think about how you treated Aaron Rodgers with Jordan Love and compare it to how you're treating Ryan Tannehill with Malik Willis. And then maybe ask yourself some questions about yourself. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another edition of The Adam Eisen Show. Hope you all have an amazing week and see you all next weekend for episode 29. Peace.